Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Generaider deck profile. So this is a very interesting deck that actually is basically the boss rush deck of Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is a really interesting concept that basically summons all sorts of boss monsters to your side of the field and uses their effects with tokens to be able to give up those tokens to trigger very powerful effects, which is really amazing. And it's actually based on Norse mythology, which is a really interesting concept as well. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down the description below because we have all sorts of awesome rewards you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed card in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Har Generaider Boss of Storms, which is actually my favorite, and is ironically enough based on Odin, which is kind of cool. So what this card does is you can only control one of each of your Generator boss monsters. All of them share that particular effect that you can only control one each. And then they have different particular effects, like for instance, once per turn, if your opponent adds a card from their deck to the hand, except during the draw phase, quick effect, you can make your opponent send a monster from their hand or field to the graveyard, their choice. Which is a pretty powerful effect to just make your opponent send a card from their hand or their field to the graveyard that's a monster. And then when a card or effect is activated, you contribute 2 tokens, Generator monsters, which is always going to be the tokens, 2 generators or spellcaster monsters, negate the activation if you destroy that card. You only see the effect of this card once per turn, which is a very powerful effect to not only be able to send a card from the field or the hand to the graveyard, but also have a walking negation as well. We then play 2 copies of Hela, Generator Boss of Doom. This card is probably my favorite of all the artwork. Like, these 2 are probably my favorite of all of the artwork in this entire deck. But what she does is quick effect, you contribute a generator or a zombie monster and then target a generator monster or a zombie in your graveyard with a different name than the attributed monster had on the field and special summon it in defense position. So she's essentially a walking monster reborn, which is extremely powerful. We then play a single copy of Mardell. Mardell is a searcher in the deck that when she is normal or special summon, you get to add a generator or a plant monster from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty powerful effect as well to add any of your generator monsters. We then play a single copy of Generator Boss of Delusion. Generator Boss of Delusion is kind of an interesting one that has a quick effect to tribute 2 generator monsters and or rock monsters to target a card on the field and banish it, which is very helpful at just banishing a particular card that you don't want to have to deal with on the opponent's side of the field. Play a single copy of Needhog. Needhog is really powerful. I love this card. It's actually one of my favorite generator cards for its effects. What it does is it lets you tribute 1 generator monster or worm monster to negate the summon of a monster, and if you destroy that monster when your opponent special summons a monster to their field. And it's a quick effect as well, so it's a very, very powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Generator Boss of Fire. I've actually bumped this card into the deck because it's a really nice beat stick, and it can help out a lot because what it does is if a cards you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can destroy 1 generator monster or a beast warrior monster you control instead, which is a really powerful effect to protect your field spell, which is why I actually play this card as a 1-of. We then play a single copy of Frody, Generator Boss of Swords. Frody is really good too because it can get you multiple pops on your side of the field, especially with giving yourself multiple tokens, because it lets you tribute any number of generator monsters and or warrior monsters to target that many monsters on the field and destroy them, and then your opponent draws cards equal to the number of destroyed cards that was destroyed on their field, which is not that bad actually when you think about it, because you can go in for an OTK after you pop multiple cards on the field, which this card is very good at doing. We then play 2 copies of the really cool level 9 monster. This one, it's really, really easy to get this card out on the side of the field because it has the ability during the main phase, if this card's in your hand or graveyard, you can quick effect, you can contribute up to 3 fairy monsters, which you play a lot of fairies in the deck as well as the littler monsters, but this card has a really cool effect that you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field, and then you apply the effects based on in sequence depending on the number of tributed monsters. You either destroy a card your opponent controls or you draw 2, but it's a really powerful effect because your tokens on your side of the field, I believe, are counted as fairies, which is a really cool, yeah, they are. The Generator Boss tokens are actually counted as fairies, which is why you use this card in this deck, which is why I always summon this card in the deck a lot. You don't really use the main monsters like the Shadow of the Generator Boss, but you're going to be using the tokens on your side of the field to actually get this card out on your side of the field as quickly as possible. We then play 3 copies of Shadow of the Generaider bosses. This card is really, really good and a really awesome card in the deck too, because it has the ability that you can only control one of it, and then all Generaider monsters you control gain an additional 1,000 attack. Like, as you look at these monsters, you look at them and go, oh, well, 3,000 for a level 9 monster, that's pretty good, but So this bumps them up to like 4,005, like a lot of damage. This card really helps you make the deck a boss deck. So what this card does is during your opponent's turn only, that it gain that attack. And then during the main phase quick effect, you contribute a Generator to special summon one level 9 Generator monster with a different name from your deck, which is why you play so many 1-ofs in this particular deck to get those searches and out on the field with this card. And it's a very, very pivotal card in the deck, but you can only use each of its effects once per turn, or its effect once per turn. We then play 3 copies of Condemned Witch. Condemned Witch is a really powerful card in this deck because it has the ability to, when it's normal summon, you get to add a forbidden spell or trap or spell from your deck to your hand, which is a really powerful effect to add Forbidden Chalice from your deck to your hand, which I play as a 2-of in this deck. And then you contribute this card to special summon one level 4 fairy monster from your deck, which is always going to be your Shadow of the Generators, which is a very powerful effect just to get this card out on your side of the field, to give all of your Generators an extra boost, and to be able to tribute a monster to be able to special summon a Generator from your deck, which is extremely good. We then play, rounding out the monsters, we're going to be rounding it out with 3 copies of Ash Blossom. The Ash Blossoms help out in the deck a lot because they stop your opponent from doing shenanigans against you, which is why I play this card as a 3-of. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Call by the Grave because we can only play 1 copy of Call by the Grave now, but it's a really powerful card still to be able to stop your opponent. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance is still a very powerful card in this deck because it can get you out essentially any of your Generator monsters out of your deck and be able to dig into the deck to get your field spell, because you really need to open the field spell to get this deck rolling, because the field spell is just really, really, really powerful. And speaking of getting the field spell out, we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming, because Terraforming just helps the deck out so much at getting the field spell. We then play 3 copies of Generator Boss Quest. Boss Quest helps out a lot because it lets you reveal any Generator monster in your hand, and you play enough of them in the deck to use this effect. If you do, you get to add up to 2 Generator spells and traps from your deck from each other from your deck to your hand that have different names, which you play a couple of traps that are Generator traps that'll get, the names that you need. And then we play the most powerful card in the deck, which is 3 of the Boss Stage. Boss Stage is hands down the best card in the entire main deck, with the effect that once per turn, if a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except during the damage step, then you get to special summon 1 Generator monster from your deck in defense position. And if you special summon a Generator monster during your opponent's turn, then you can special summon as many Generator tokens, level 4, 1500 attack, 1500 defense, as possible in attack position, but destroy them during the end phase. So basically let you trigger your Generator monster's effects during your opponent's turn, which is a very the quick effect ones during your opponent's turn, which is a very, very, very powerful effect of this card, just giving you basically the tokens that you need to resolve this effect. So then we play 3 copies of World Legacy Monstrosity. World Legacy Monstrosity works with level 9 monsters and has the ability to special summon a level 9 monster in your hand if you do kind of break and draw too many of the Generators, which is very rare in this deck, but it does happen from time to time. But it has also the ability that you can target 1 level 9 monster you control to special summon from your deck 2 level 9 monsters with each from different original types and attributes, which you do play a lot of different types and attributes in this deck of Generator boss monsters. Every single one of them has a different attribute than the other one, or not an attribute, but a different typing from the other one, and every single one of them has a different attribute normally, except for I think Har and Hela are both dark monsters. But basically you get to summon 2 more, which helps you get into a Z play, which is what's really powerful about it. We then play for the last 2 spells. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. The Chalices really help out because they're kind of like 2 effect veilers in a sense, because it does boost the opponent's monster attack by 400, and your opponent can pop it with Cosmic Cyclone, but they have to use a resource to get rid of it. But it's searchable, which is what's really good about this. So you're basically playing the 5 hand traps with 3 Ash and 2 copies of Chalice, but Chalice is searchable off the normal summon of Condemned Witch, which if your opponent Ash Blossoms that, it's kind of like, okay, fine, I'm just going to search out my Generator boss stage and go off from there anyways, because this is just an added bonus when you normal summon out your copy of Condemned Witch. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps, because you do play a couple of traps in this deck. So we're going to be opening up with a single copy of Generaider Boss Room. Boss Room is a 1-of to me because when your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of your Generaider card or effect, you can discard a card and your opponent activated effect becomes each player draws a card, which is really powerful because basically if your opponent ashes one of your cards, then you can just basically respond to it with Generaider Boss Room and go, nah, no, I'm going to block that hand trap. So it's a really powerful card, and it's searchable in the deck, which is why it's such a powerful card. We then play 3 copies of Generaider Boss Fight. Boss Fight is really powerful because it has the ability to basically activate your field spell directly from your deck or your graveyard, and then your opponent draws a card, which then will activate the copy of the boss stage to be able to give you all your tokens on your side of the field. So this is a 1-card setup for your entire board, which is why this card is so powerful, and I love this card as a 3-of in the deck, which with your 3 copies of the field spell, 3 copies of this, and a terraforming, you've got 7 copies of the card in your deck, which is plenty of cards to draw. And plus, it works out with your Pot of Extravagance because it's not a big deal because you're going to dig into the deck anyways to get your copies of your card anyway. So you have essentially 3 ways to get to it, or well, 4 ways to get to it, 3 in the main deck of it, and then you also have the 3 extravagance to dig, so you have like 10 ways to really get to the card, so it's really easy to get. So that's it for the monsters, guys, or that's it for the traps, I mean. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Jormungandr. Jormungandr is a really powerful extra deck monster that has the ability that you can only control 1 copy of it, and this card's original attack becomes 1,000 times the number of materials. And then quick effect, you can detach a material from this card and each player draws a card. Then each player that drew one attaches 1 card from their hand to the field to this card. So basically it does give your opponent a little bit of advantage, but then it rips it away. It's a material to boost this card up by 1,000 because you have to detach to activate. And then you basically grab a card from your opponent and attach it to this, which makes it really powerful. And you're going to already throw 2 cards on this, so it can get up to 3,000 instantly, which is a really powerful effect. We then play 3 copies of True King of All Calamities, because True King of All Calamities is going to be the card you're going to be going to in every single game with this card, because you're going to throw this on the field against your opponent and basically shut them down right off the bat. We're then going to play 2 copies of Phantom Fortress. Phantom Fortress is helpful too because you have to put 2 materials on it, but then it gains the ability you can detach a material from it, then activate one of the following effects. To either banish a card your opponent controls, banish a random card from your opponent's hand, banish a card from your opponent's graveyard, or banish the top card of your opponent's deck face up. So it helps out a lot to be able to just banish your opponent's card. So it's a really powerful card to play as a 2-of. I play for my 1-ofs. I'm playing 1 copy of Infinitract Earth Slicer. This card's just a 1-of to me because it has the ability you can detach any number of materials in this card, then target that many cards on the field and destroy them. So it's just a bonus, kind of like an extra Frody if you don't get the Frody as needed. And if this card's in the graveyard, you can tribute a Machine Link monster, which we don't really play any Machine Link monsters to get it back. Then we play number 92. 92 is really easy to get out with your copy of Monstrosity. So I play this card as a 1-of in the deck. It comes out every so often, and since the last profile, I've actually been playing around with Hard Earth in this deck, and I really like it. I'm not really concerned if I banish it off of my Extravagance, so I just play it as a 1-of in here. But if it comes out, it's like really hard to deal with. Then you play 1 copy of 9 Lives Cat. I kind of bumped this down a little bit from the previous profile. I think in the previous profile I was playing it at 2, and now I just bumped it down to 1 because I just feel like I need 1. Like if I banish any of these 3, it's like, it's fine. I don't really need them. So I really need True King of All Calamities. It's the best rank 9. But what this card does is your opponent cannot target other cards you control that were special summoned from the graveyard with card effects, and then you can detach a material from this card to target 1 level 9 monster in your graveyard or 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it. It's a 3300 defense monster, which is really powerful, but I just feel like I need it as a 1-of. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa because you made this really easy on your side of the field with your IP Masquerena. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn because it can spin stuff. Phoenix because it can pop spells and traps. Bujinki Amaterasu. This card's really powerful too because you just link 2 level 9s into this card, and then it gives you the ability that this card is link summon. You can special summon 2 monsters, one from they're both of the same level, 1 from your hand and 1 from your graveyard, but they have to be 2 monsters with the same level. So your level 4 monsters can go into this card, and then you can summon out 2 level 9s to go into this, and then essentially make your any of your True King of All Calamities or any of the other cards that you have in the extra, like Jormungandr. So it's a really powerful card to play as as a 2 or 1 of in the deck. And then I play a single copy of IP Masquerade because you can use the tokens on your turn if you need to go into this card and then go from here into a Nightmare Unicorn if you want to go into this card and then go during your opponent's turn with the tokens into a copy of like Unicorn or into a copy of Appaloosa. You particularly can, so I play this as a 1 of. So that's it for the extra deck, guys, and that's it for the profile. I hope you did enjoy this one. It's a really interesting deck that was really like a rising star in the meta for a while. And then Inferno Knight and Dragon Link kind of took over, and this deck kind of fell to the wayside, but it's a really powerful deck that I'm really surprised not many people are playing right now, because it's still really powerful. Like, it's had no hits on the ban list, so this deck is really, really good still. So, anyways, guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.